Captain Elias Ward stood at the edge of the massive starport, watching the strange twin suns of Valar Prime burn in the sky. Their golden light shimmered across the silver towers of the alien city, making the whole capital look like it was built from liquid metal. He had seen many worlds in his career, but nothing quite like this. Around him, Valari guards in black and violet armor watched his every move. They were tall, towering almost 2 heads above him, their features sharp and their eyes glowing faintly with bioluminescence. The Valari Dominion was one of the most feared empires in the galaxy, and Elias knew well that a single mistake here could cost him his life. Yet, instead of chains or hostility, he had been summoned with honor. Not by a general, not by a governor, but by the Valari Queen herself. Elias tightened the collar of his navy blue uniform and took a slow breath. He was a soldier, an explorer, a survivor of too many battles to count, but the thought of standing before a being who had ruled 1,000 years made him feel like a rookie all over again. The guards gestured for him to follow. He did. The throne chamber of the Valari Queen was not what Elias expected. It was not dark or full of intimidation as he had imagined. Instead, it was bright, a vast hall of white crystal that reached so high it seemed to pierce the clouds themselves. Rows of alien banners hung from the walls, each one marked with victories of the Dominion. Yet in the center of all that power sat a single figure, the Queen. She looked older than the guards, her face lined with faint silver markings, her posture regal and unmoving. Her armor was ceremonial, plated with gold and amethyst, but she carried no weapon. Her eyes, glowing faintly blue, studied Elias as if she could read every thought he had ever held. When he stopped at the steps of her throne, silence fell across the chamber. For a moment, Elias wasn't sure if he should bow, salute, or simply stand firm. He chose the last, lifting his chin, showing neither fear nor arrogance. The Queen's voice filled the chamber. It was deep, smooth, and ancient. "Human," she said slowly, "you cross the stars with boldness. Few have stood in this hall without trembling." Elias allowed a faint smile. "I've faced worse than a throne room, Your Majesty. I've been in the middle of a supernova storm before breakfast." The Queen's lips curved, the faintest hint of amusement. Her guard shifted uneasily, unaccustomed to such casual speech in the royal court, but the Queen raised her hand, silencing them. She leaned forward slightly, her gaze sharpening. "Do you know why I have summoned you, Captain Ward?" "I assume it isn't for small talk," Elias replied carefully. The Queen's eyes glowed brighter. "You assume correctly. I have watched your kind, human. I have studied your wars, your rise from weakness to strength. You are a short-lived species, fragile compared to mine, yet you endure. You adapt. You rise again even when crushed." Her voice grew softer, almost like a whisper carried on wind. "I am old, human. Too old. My strength fades with each passing cycle. I cannot stand beside warriors any longer. But my daughter, she awaits her own destiny." Elias's brows furrowed. He glanced at the guards, then back at the Queen. "I don't understand." The Queen stood then, her tall figure descending the steps with slow grace. Her presence was overwhelming, each step echoing like thunder in the hall. When she stopped before Elias, she lowered her voice so that only he could hear. "I am too old for you, human, but my daughter awaits you." Elias's breath caught. It was not a command, nor a proposal of alliance in the political sense. It felt heavier, deeper, as if the Queen was entrusting him with something sacred. The Queen lifted her gaze toward the distant banners, her expression solemn. "Our enemies grow stronger. Our warriors grow fewer. The Valari must change or die. My daughter Serenia will soon inherit the throne. She is fierce, proud, and untested. She believes humans are weak. But I believe you are the key." Elias's thoughts spun. He had come here expecting negotiations, maybe even threats, but this, the most powerful queen in this part of the galaxy, was asking him, a single human soldier, to stand with her daughter. He crossed his arms slowly. "Why me?" The Queen's eyes returned to him, sharp and unwavering. "Because you are not afraid to stand alone in a hall where even kings tremble. Because your kind has no ancient bloodlines to lean on, no centuries of tradition to shield you. You survive with nothing but will. My daughter must learn this. She must learn you." The chamber grew silent again. Elias felt the weight of the moment press down on him. 1,000 questions swirled in his mind. What did await mean? Did the queen see him as a teacher? A warrior? A companion for her heir? The thought was absurd, but her words carried a meaning deeper than simple politics. Before he could ask, the queen raised her hand. You will meet Serenia at dawn. She will test you as she tests all who claim worth. Do not fail, human. If you do, my daughter will see your kind as nothing but dust beneath her feet. Elias let out a slow breath. He met the queen's glowing eyes and nodded once. Then I won't fail. For the first time, the queen smiled. It was faint, but it carried both sadness and hope. Good. Then let the dawn decide if humanity truly belongs among the stars. That night, Elias stood in the guest chambers provided to him, looking out at the alien city beneath the twin suns. The queen's words echoed in his mind. I'm too old for you, human, but my daughter awaits you. It was not just a whisper. It was a challenge. A prophecy. He tightened the strap of his uniform, a small grin touching his lips. Well then, princess, he muttered to the glowing skyline. I'll see you at dawn. The dawn of Valar Prime broke with a pale silver glow. The twin suns had not yet reached full brightness, leaving the sky painted with violet and crimson shades. Captain Elias Ward stood on the balcony of his guest chamber, the alien wind brushing against his face. He had not slept much. His mind kept replaying the queen's words. I'm too old for you, human, but my daughter awaits you. What did that truly mean? Elias had served in the Terran fleet long enough to know that alien politics were rarely simple. A phrase could mean an alliance, a warning, or even a death sentence. Yet the queen's tone had been more personal, as if she was entrusting him with more than just a duty. Now, it was time to meet her daughter, the first meeting. The chamber doors opened, and 2 Valari guards in ceremonial armor entered. Between them walked Princess Serenia. She was taller than Elias, her frame lean yet powerful, her violet and silver armor fitted not as decoration, but as a warrior's attire. Her eyes glowed with a sharper intensity than her mother's, fierce and unyielding. Her dark hair shimmered faintly with streaks of blue, a natural sign of her youth and vitality. She stopped in front of Elias, studying him without speaking. Her gaze moved from his boots to his face, sharp as a blade, so she finally spoke, her voice clear and cold. You are the human my mother speaks of. Elias nodded, folding his hands behind his back. Captain Elias Ward, Terran Fleet. Her lips curved slightly, not in amusement but in challenge. You are smaller than I expected. Smaller doesn't mean weaker, Elias replied without hesitation. The princess tilted her head, eyes narrowing as if weighing his words. Then she turned and gestured for him to follow. Come. If you are to stand before me, you must first pass the trials. If you fail, you will leave this world in disgrace. If you succeed, perhaps you are worthy of my time. Elias smirked faintly. No pressure, then. Trial 1, the trial of endurance. They traveled beyond the shining towers of the Valari capital to the harsh desert lands outside. The sky burned with both suns now, and the wind carried fine dust sharp as glass. Serenia led Elias to a circle marked by tall black stones. Several Valari warriors stood there watching silently. This, Serenia said, pointing to the endless desert, is the trial of endurance. A warrior must survive the storm season without technology. No ships, no weapons. Only your body, your mind, and your will. You will walk until you return to this stone circle. Survive and you prove strength. Fail, and the desert claims you. Elias looked at the barren horizon. He could feel the heat already pressing against his skin. He pulled off his navy coat, keeping only his light undershirt and boots. How long do I have? He asked. Serenia's eyes glowed. As long as it takes. If you are truly unbreakable, you will return. The Valari warriors chuckled quietly, certain that the human would not last even a day. Elias only nodded. Fine, then let's see if the desert's tougher than me. The first hours were brutal. The heat blistered his skin. The wind lashed at his face and the dry air burned in his lungs. Elias pushed forward step by step, keeping his pace steady. He thought of Earth's deserts, Sahara, Mojave, Outback. He had trained in harsh places before, but Valar's desert was alive, shifting beneath his feet as if the planet itself wanted him gone. When night came, the temperature dropped so sharply it felt like stepping into ice water. Elias shivered, wrapping his coat tightly around him. Above, the alien stars blazed brighter than he had ever seen. filling the black sky with strange constellations. He lasted 3 days without food, sipping only the small amount of water he had stored in a leather pouch. His lips cracked, his muscles screamed, but he kept walking. On the 5th day, the storm came. A wall of sand rose on the horizon, roaring like thunder. The Valari warriors had spoken of it, the storm season. Most beings hid in caves or shelters. Elias had nothing. When the storm struck, it was like standing inside a tornado made of knives. Sand slashed his skin, wind knocked him off balance. He wrapped his coat around his face, crouched low, and kept moving. Every instinct screamed at him to stop, to curl up and wait. But he remembered Serenya's words. Fail and the desert claims you. No chance, he growled through grit teeth. I've got worse scars than this. When the storm finally passed, he stumbled forward, his body bloody and raw, but his spirit unbroken. On the 7th day, the Blackstone Circle came into view. The Valari warriors stared in disbelief as Elias staggered back into the ring, barely standing but still alive. Serenya's eyes widened for a brief second, though her face quickly returned to its cold mask. Impressive. You endured. Elias gave a dry grin. Told you. Smaller doesn't mean weaker. Trial 2. The trial of mind. The next day, Serenya led Elias into the royal library, a vast hall of crystal shelves filled with glowing tablets and star maps. In the center stood a towering structure of interlocking pieces, a puzzle the size of a human house. This is the trial of mind, Serenya explained. It is a puzzle older than our empire. Many warriors have tried to solve it. Few succeed. If you cannot see patterns where others cannot, you will fail. Elias studied the structure. It looked impossible. Rotating arms, shifting tiles, glowing runes that pulsed when touched. He rolled his shoulders and muttered, I fixed starship engines held together with duct tape. Can't be worse than that. Hours passed. Valari observers whispered among themselves, watching the human struggle. Elias pushed tiles, twisted levers, stepped back, then tried again. Sweat dripped from his forehead, but his eyes stayed sharp. Instead of brute forcing it, he watched the lights. He listened to the faint hum of energy. Slowly he realized it was not about strength, but rhythm. The puzzle was like music, a sequence of movements flowing together. Piece by piece he adjusted, following the hum. When the final tile clicked into place, the entire structure lit up, glowing with bright silver light. The observers gasped. The puzzle had been solved. Serenya stepped closer, her expression unreadable. You solved it? Elias smirked. Told you. Humans are good at figuring things out when everything's broken. For the first time, Serenya's cold mask cracked. A small smile touched her lips, though it vanished quickly. Very well. You have passed the trial of mind. Trial 3. The trial of honor. The final test came in the royal arena. Thousands of Valari citizens filled the stands, eager to see the human who had survived the desert and solved the puzzle. In the center of the arena stood Elias, unarmed, surrounded by 5 towering Valari warriors. Each carried a spear glowing with energy. Serenya's voice echoed across the arena. This is the trial of honor. You will not fight them, you will stand. If you kneel, if you surrender, you are unworthy. A true warrior faces fear without bowing. The warriors advanced. Their spears clashed against the ground, sending sparks across the sand. The crowd roared. Elias stood tall, hands at his sides. His heart pounded, but he did not move. The first warrior swung his spear close to his head, the tip buzzing past his ear. Elias didn't flinch. The second slammed the ground beside him, the shockwave rattling his bones. Elias only clenched his jaw. The third warrior roared in his face, voice booming like thunder. Elias stared back, unblinking. Minutes stretched into hours. Sweat poured down his back. His legs trembled, but he refused to bend. Finally, the warriors stepped back, lowering their spears. The arena went silent. Serenya rose from her seat, her glowing eyes fixed on him. You did not yield. You did not kneel. You have passed. The crowd erupted in cheers, chanting a word Elias could not understand but knew was honor. Serenya descended into the arena, stopping before him. For the first time, her eyes softened. You are not like the others, she admitted quietly. Perhaps my mother was right about you. Elias gave a small, tired smile. Told you. We humans are tougher than we look. For the first time, Princess Serenya laughed. A short, sharp sound, but genuine. The Valari capital was alive with celebration. For the first time in centuries, an outsider had passed the 3 trials. The arenas echoed with chants of Elias's name, though he understood none of their language. What he did understand was the shift in the air. Valari, who had looked at him with doubt, now stared with respect, even awe. Yet Elias knew respect could vanish quickly. He had lived long enough to learn that glory was fragile. Princess Serenia stood beside him on the high balcony overlooking the city. The violet skies stretched wide, and fleets of silver starships drifted in formation above the horizon. The air smelled of spices and heat, carried by the alien winds. "You surprised me, human," Serenia said, her arms folded. Her voice carried less ice now, more curiosity. "Few of my people have endured all 3 trials, and none of your kind before today." Elias leaned against the railing, a small grin tugging at his lips. "Guess I like breaking records." She gave him a sharp glance, then shook her head. "Your people, your kind is strange. You are fragile, short-lived, reckless. Yet you don't stop. You rise even when crushed. That is a power we do not have." "Resilience," Elias said softly. "That's our strength. You might say it's the only reason we're still here." Before Serenia could reply, a loud hum shook the balcony. Both looked to the sky. Valari warships shifted formation, their shields flaring like waves of light. Alarms echoed across the city. The skies darkened, not from clouds, but from the massive shadow of a fleet emerging from hyperspace, the Dravari swarm. The enemy appears. The Dravari ships looked nothing like Valari vessels. They were jagged, black, alive with writhing tendrils of energy. Their hulls pulsed like beating hearts, each vessel more creature than machine. The air itself seemed to tremble as their fleet spread across the sky. Serenia's eyes widened. The swarm. Elias straightened, his grin vanishing. He had heard whispers of the Dravari. Raiders, conquerors, devourers. Entire colonies lost to them, entire fleets consumed. Humanity had not yet faced them directly, but the stories painted them as monsters. "They've come for Valar," Serenia said grimly. "They strike when we are divided. And now, with my mother near her end..." Elias clenched his fists. "Then we don't wait for them to come down here. We hit them first." Serenia looked at him sharply. "No, this is not your fight, human. Leave before the battle begins." He met her gaze without flinching. "With respect, princess, you don't give me orders. You're not just fighting for your people. You're fighting for mine, too. If they take you down, humans are next. Like it or not, I'm in this fight." For a moment, Serenia studied him, her jaw tight. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Very well. Then you fight at my side." In the War Council, the Royal War Council gathered inside the Grand Hall, Valari generals standing tall in dark armor. A star map flickered above the table, showing the massive swarm pressing against Valar's defenses. "They are too many," one general growled. "We must hold the homeworld and hope reinforcements arrive." Another slammed his fist on the table. "Reinforcements will not come in time. We must launch the fleet now, strike them before they land." The council argued loudly, voices overlapping. Elias stood at the edge, arms crossed, listening. Their plans were brave but predictable. He had studied countless battles, and he could already see what the Dravari wanted. Finally, he stepped forward. "You're all making the same mistake." The room fell silent. Dozens of glowing eyes turned toward him. Serenia lifted her hand. "Let him speak." Elias pointed at the map. "The swarm wants you to commit your entire fleet to one strike. They'll bait you in, then surround you. That's how they fight. They use numbers, fear, and brute force. You can't beat them playing their game." The general sneered. "And what would a fragile human know of galactic war?" Elias's voice hardened. "I've seen it before. Not with your swarm, but with empires and warlords back home. The strong think they're invincible until they meet someone who fights dirty." He tapped the map, highlighting weak points. "We don't fight them head-on. We bleed them. Hit their supply ships, sabotage their carriers, make them chase ghosts. You use your strength where it matters, and you let me lead a strike team to break their heart." The generals bristled at his boldness. One stepped forward, towering over him. "You dare tell us how to fight in our own war?" Elias didn't back down. "If you don't, you'll lose. And when you lose, you won't get a second chance." The hall went silent again. The queen herself entered then, her presence silencing all debate. She studied Elias with those ancient glowing eyes. "This human speaks with fire," she said slowly. "Perhaps his way is the way we have forgotten. Let him lead his strike. Serenia, go with him." The princess bowed. Yes, Mother. The strike team hours later, Elias boarded a Valari gunship alongside Serenia and a squad of her finest warriors. The ship hummed with alien energy, its controls strange but functional. Elias sat at the command station, studying the holographic map. Their target was a massive Dravari carrier at the edge of the swarm. Destroying it would cripple their coordination. Serenia stood beside him, her armor gleaming. You are bold, human. But boldness is often death, Elias smirked. Boldness kept my people alive when the universe wanted us gone. Besides, I work better under pressure. The Valari warriors exchanged doubtful glances, but Serenia's lips curved ever so slightly. Then prove it. Into the swarm, the gunship darted through the battlefield. Valari warships clashed with Dravari vessels in blinding arcs of energy. Explosions lit the void, fragments of ships scattering like sparks. The Dravari were terrifying up close. Their ships pulsed as if alive, their weapons firing streams of molten plasma. Elias's heart pounded, but his focus stayed sharp. Evasive pattern Delta, he shouted. The Valari pilot obeyed, weaving through blasts. The gunship spun, ducked, rolled. Dravari fighters gave chase, shrieking like predators. Now, Elias barked. Cut engines, dive left. The sudden maneuver sent the fighters crashing into each other, exploding in a burst of fire. The Valari crew stared at him in shock. No Valari commander would have risked such a reckless move. Elias grinned. Told you. Sometimes crazy works. They reached the carrier. The massive beast-like ship loomed before them, its surface covered in tendrils and glowing vents. Prepare charges, Elias ordered. We hit their power core, then run like hell. The battle within. They breached the carrier's hull, entering a cavernous chamber pulsing with organic machinery. The air reeked of ash and rot. Dravari soldiers poured in, grotesque creatures of armor and flesh shrieking as they attacked. The Valari warriors met them with glowing spears, their movements sharp and deadly. Serenia fought at the front, her blade flashing, her eyes blazing with fury. Elias fired his pulse rifle, each shot tearing through the swarm. He moved fast, covering the Valari, calling out orders. Left flank, push them back. Keep the path clear. Despite the chaos, they advanced toward the core chamber. A massive sphere of molten energy pulsed in the center, tendrils feeding into it. Elias slammed the charges onto the conduits, sweat dripping from his forehead. That's it. Fall back. But the Dravari surged, blocking their escape. Dozens of them crawled from the walls, shrieking. Elias gritted his teeth. Serenia, get your people out. I'll hold them. She spun toward him, fury flashing in her eyes. No, human. I will not abandon you. Trust me, he growled, firing another volley. This is what humans do. We stay behind so the others make it out. Go. For a heartbeat, she hesitated. Then she gave a sharp nod. You had better survive this, Elias Ward. She led the warriors back, cutting through enemies. Elias stood at the rear, blasting anything that moved. His rifle grew hot, his body screamed in pain, but he kept firing. The charges detonated. A massive explosion ripped through the core, fire consuming the chamber. Elias was thrown back, slamming against the wall. For a moment, everything went black. The escape when he awoke, the gunship's cabin surrounded him. Serenia knelt at his side, her hand pressed against his shoulder. Relief flashed in her glowing eyes when he stirred. You lived, she said softly. Elias coughed, forcing a grin. Told you. I work better under pressure. The Valari warriors cheered as the view screen showed the Dravari carrier collapsing in flames. The swarm broke formation, retreating in confusion. The battle was turning. For the first time, Serenia looked at him not with doubt, but with true respect. You are reckless, human, she said. But perhaps that is exactly what we needed. Elias leaned back, exhausted but satisfied. Get used to it, princess. That's humanity's specialty. The Valari capital trembled as alarms rang across the city. The Dravari swarm had returned, larger than before. The previous strike had slowed them, but they were far from defeated. Their ships moved like a black wave, covering the skies with shadows that blotted out the twin suns. Captain Elias Ward stood atop the high balcony of the royal palace, staring at the approaching fleet. His uniform was torn and scorched from the previous battle, his face streaked with dirt and exhaustion. Yet his eyes were sharp, calculating every move, every possibility. Princess Serenia joined him, her armor scratched from the previous skirmish. Her eyes glowed bright violet, the same color as the swarm's shadows on the horizon. She stood silently for a moment, then spoke. They have brought more than ships this time, she said. They want Valar completely. They will not stop until everything is ours, or dead. Elias clenched his fists. Then we won't give them the chance. You and I together will make them regret coming here. Serenia studied him, her expression softening slightly. You have spirit, human. Perhaps my mother was right. Perhaps your kind is stronger than we imagined. Stronger? Elias said with a small grin. Try stubborn. We humans survive everything. Her lips curved into a faint smile. Then let us survive together. The battle begins. The fleets of Valari ships surged into the void above the planet, their silver hulls glinting like blades. Elias boarded a command ship standing beside Serenia. Their mission was clear: defend the planet and push the swarm back. Valari commanders shouted orders, but Elias noticed a pattern. The swarm attacked predictably, expecting the Valari to defend conventionally. They're setting a trap, Elias warned. Their left wing is bait. If we commit all our ships there, they'll flank us from the right and destroy the core defenses. Serenia nodded. What do you suggest? Divide their attention. Split our forces. I'll lead a strike team to the right flank. Hit them where they don't expect it. You take the main fleet and hold the bait. The princess hesitated. It is dangerous. Even for you, human. Nothing about this is safe, Elias replied. But it's the only way. She studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Then let's begin. The ship surged forward, diving into the battle. Explosions lit the void as plasma beams clashed. The swarm moved quickly, trying to overwhelm the Valari. Elias guided his strike team, weaving through the chaos. Stay close. Watch each other. Remember, hit fast, retreat faster. They approached the enemy's flank, smaller but heavily armed carriers. Elias directed precise attacks, exploiting weaknesses in the Dravari hulls. The swarm's response was swift and deadly. Fighters tore through the void, swarming the strike team. Don't let them surround you, Elias shouted. Focus fire on their core units. Serenia led the main fleet, engaging the bait ships with precision. Her blade-shaped ships danced among the Dravari, energy streams slicing through their attackers. Ground forces joined the Dravari had landed on the planet, sending massive biomachines to crush the Valari cities. Elias and Serenia activated the planetary defense systems. Laser towers and energy shields flared, pushing back the invaders. Yet the swarm was relentless. The ground shook as the biomachines advanced, tearing buildings from the stone foundation. Hold them back, Serenia shouted to the human and Valari soldiers on the streets. Elias joined the ground fight, using both his pulse rifle and hand-to-hand combat to keep the machines at bay. His team fought like shadows, using quick movements, traps, and clever tactics the Valari rarely considered. He noticed one massive biomachine larger than a tower, advancing toward the palace. Its armor was thick, nearly impenetrable. We need to take that down or the city is lost, Elias yelled. He grabbed a plasma grenade, calculated the angles, and hurled it at a weak point he had noticed. The machine exploded in a shower of molten metal, sending sparks flying. The Valari soldiers stared, amazed. Humans did not always have strength, but their unpredictability and courage changed the tide. Serenia joined him, standing back to back. You fight well, human, she said, deflecting a mechanical limb with her energy blade. You survive better with friends, Elias replied, firing his rifle at the next approaching machine. Together, they cleared a path toward the palace, saving civilians and soldiers alike. The turning point hours into the battle. The Dravari fleet concentrated on Valar Prime's central orbital station, a massive structure controlling the planetary shields. If it fell, the planet would be defenseless. Elias grabbed a small shuttle. I'll take the core. You hold the fleet, Serenia's eyes flared. No, you can't go alone. I don't go alone, Elias said. You're with me. She hesitated, then nodded. We do this together. They piloted the shuttle through the battlefield, weaving past Dravari fighters. Explosions shook the vessel. The outer hull scorched under plasma fire. Yet Elias's hands moved with steady precision, guiding them through impossible paths. When they reached the orbital station, dozens of Dravari defenders swarmed. Elias and Serenia fought side by side, their weapons flashing in tandem. He blasted enemies with his pulse rifle while she sliced through armored drones with her energy blade. They reached the core chamber. The station's energy pulsed, ready to collapse under Dravari attack. Elias planted charges, calculating the exact timing needed. Serenia covered him, deflecting attacks with deadly precision. Hurry! she shouted. Almost there, Elias replied, detonating the charges. The station shook violently. Lights flickered. Energy conduits exploded. The Dravari fleet lost coordination as their main node collapsed. The remaining defenders panicked, giving Valari forces above a chance to push them back. Victory and loss. The battle raged until night fell over Velar Prime. The Dravari retreating ships glowed like dying stars in the distance. Smoke and fire covered parts of the city, but the population survived. Elias and Serenia returned to the palace, weary but alive. Soldiers cheered, civilians wept, and the Valari fleet celebrated their first major victory in centuries. Serenia leaned against the balcony railing, exhausted, her violet eyes glowing dimly. "You were right, human," she admitted softly. "Your kind? You brought hope when we had none." Elias clapped her shoulder. "Hope is good, princess. Even when it comes in a messy human package." She laughed softly. "Messy, reckless, persistent. Yes, that is humanity, and perhaps that is exactly what we needed." The queen appeared then, leaning on a staff, her face pale but proud. "You have done well, Elias Ward," she said. "You have shown my daughter the value of your kind, perhaps. The galaxy has more need for humans than I thought." Elias bowed slightly. "I only did what any human would do. Fight for survival." The queen smiled faintly. "Then let your kind survive, and teach us resilience, for it may yet save us all." As the twin suns rose again, casting gold and violet light over the recovering city, Elias felt the weight of what they had accomplished. Humans were still fragile, short-lived, and often underestimated. But now, Valari warriors had seen their true strength: courage, adaptability, and the unbreakable will to endure. The twin suns of Velar Prime rose slowly over the recovering city, casting gold and violet light across streets still scarred from the Dravari invasion. Smoke lingered in the air, mingling with the scent of molten metal and burnt flora. Captain Elias Ward stood at the edge of the palace balcony, surveying the scene. Soldiers and civilians moved through the streets, clearing debris and helping the injured. The Valari fleet hovered above, resupplying and repairing from the previous battle. It was a moment of uneasy calm. Princess Serenia approached, her armor scratched but her stance strong. The violet glow in her eyes had softened, replaced with a quiet determination. "You did well, human," she said, her voice carrying over the balcony. "Without you, we would have lost much more than a battle. Perhaps even the planet itself." Elias shook his head, wiping sweat from his brow. "I just did what humans do. We survive, and we fight for those we care about." She looked at him thoughtfully. "Your kind is strange, fragile yet persistent, reckless yet clever." The queen was right, humans are not to be underestimated. Elias gave a small grin. "Glad to see you finally agree." Before Serenia could respond, a hush fell over the courtyard. A royal guard approached, bowing low. "The queen requests your presence, princess." "Captain Ward. She wishes to speak with you as well." Serenia nodded. "Then let's go." The queen's last words. The queen lay in her private chambers, supported by crystalline pillars of energy that maintained her failing life force. Her face was lined, her silver markings gleaming faintly. She looked older than anyone Elias had ever seen, yet her eyes retained that same piercing glow, full of wisdom and command. "Come closer, Elias Ward," she whispered. "And you, Serenia." They approached quietly. The weight of the room pressed upon them. This was no ordinary meeting. It was a moment of destiny. The queen gestured for them to kneel. "I am old and my time nears its end. The Dravari retreat, but the galaxy is still a dangerous place. Your actions, human, have proven what I long suspected. You are capable of more than any other short-lived species I have seen." Elias felt a chill. Praise from a Valari ruler was rare. Approval even rarer. The queen's gaze softened as she looked at her daughter. "Serenia, my daughter, the future of our people. You have learned much from this human. Perhaps more than I could teach in a century. Humans endure when others fall. Humans adapt when others break. Humans..." Hope Serenia's eyes widened. "Mother," she whispered. The queen turned back to Elias. "You have shown courage, ingenuity, and honor beyond your years. You have changed the way my people see your kind. I am too old to stand with you, human, but my daughter awaits you." Elias swallowed, realizing the weight of her words. This was no longer about battle. It was about the future of two species, do you understand? The queen asked. Together, human and Valari can survive what alone neither could endure. Promise me you will protect her and protect Valar. I will, Elias said firmly, meeting her glowing eyes. I promise. The queen's lips curved into a faint smile. Then go, my children. The galaxy is wide and your paths intertwined. And with those words, her life force dimmed, leaving the room in a soft, tranquil glow. The queen had passed, leaving her legacy in the hands of Serenia, and in the alliance forged with Elias. A new bond in the days that followed. The Valari people mourned their queen but celebrated survival. Elias was hailed not just as a hero, but as a symbol of humanity's place among the stars. Serenia took the throne, her first acts as queen guided by the lessons learned from the human beside her. Together, she and Elias visited the wounded, inspected the fleet, and oversaw the rebuilding of the city. One evening, on the balcony of the newly restored palace, Serenia turned to Elias. You have changed everything, human. My people see your kind in a new light because of you. Your courage, your stubbornness, your unyielding will. Elias smiled faintly. Funny, I never thought being stubborn would save a planet. Guess we humans always surprise someone. She laughed softly. Yes, we see that now. You are more than a visitor. You are an ally, a friend, perhaps even more. He felt the weight of her words. In the galaxy, amidst wars and alien empires, bonds were rare. Trust was rarer. But with Serenia, he had earned both, rebuilding and reflection. The Valari city was alive with activity. Civilians rebuilt homes, soldiers repaired ships, and scholars documented the battles. Yet Elias noticed something else, a quiet curiosity among the younger Valari. They asked about humans, about Earth, about resilience and adaptability. One young Valari approached him. Human, why do you keep fighting even when the odds are against you? Elias looked at him, thinking carefully. Because giving up doesn't change anything. Surviving, fighting, helping others. That's what makes life worth it. Humans, we're short-lived, fragile, but we try. Always. The young Valari nodded, absorbing the words. Elias realized that he had not only proven humans' worth, but had inspired a new generation. Serenia watched from the steps, pride in her eyes. My mother spoke truly, she said softly. Humans are remarkable. And so is this one. Elias laughed lightly. Remarkable, huh? Guess I'll take it. A new alliance months passed. The Dravari were weakened and scattered. The Valari fleet stronger than ever. Elias and Serenia worked together to form a lasting alliance between humans and Valari. Trade routes opened, fleets trained together, and cultural exchanges began. Elias walked through the palace gardens with Serenia, the twin suns painting the sky in shades of gold and violet. You have taught my people much, Serenia said. But what have you learned, human? Elias thought for a moment. That strength isn't always about power. Sometimes it's about will, about refusing to give up. Sometimes it's about working together even with those very different from you, she smiled. Then our bond is more than politics. It is survival. It is trust. And perhaps friendship. Friendship sounds good, Elias said, glancing at the horizon. Maybe even more than friendship. Serenia's laugh was soft, but it carried warmth. Perhaps, but that is a path for another day. He nodded. Then we'll walk it together, step by step. Legacy of courage years later, the story of Elias Ward spread throughout the galaxy. Humans were no longer seen as weak, fragile, or unworthy. Valari scholars recorded his deeds alongside their greatest heroes. Children learned of the human who faced impossible odds, survived brutal trials, and fought side by side with a Valari princess to save a world.